So there are influencers who really, really genuinely love your brand and product. And those influencers are the ones that produce the best type of video or content for you. I've seen a lot of beauty brands started opening stores in malls. Their numbers are just really bad. They just don't have enough variety and turnover in their products. The first few months does very well because everybody goes, there's something to buy. You go back 6 months later, it still looks the same. You know what I mean?
Welcome to another week's episode of the Messenger Mastermind podcast. As always, I'm your host, Jeremy Horowitz, and today we're joined by another incredible guest, someone who's going to show you a really interesting and unique way to grow a brand, not only on eCom, but in retail to a lot of success. Let's dive right in. Let me introduce Jean. Jean, how's it going?
Good. How are you? Thanks so much for having me on the podcast.
Yeah, thanks for joining us. Really excited. So Jean Baik, you are the founder and CMO of Miss A. For anyone who, before we dive into what Miss A is, how did you get in this crazy game of eCom? Like, how did you get into running a very large and successful eCom and retail brand?
Yes. It kind of happened as a fallback. My husband has background in like the brick and mortar space. He had a small chain business out in the West Texas / New Mexico area. And so in 2013, my husband and I, we met in college. And so we were kind of dating since college and we had our own adventures after college. And then we kind of got back together and we decided he had kind of closed off that part of his business and we wanted to start this new brand. And we knew we wanted to have dollar products, but in the beauty and lifestyle space. So we had the concept of Miss A, and we came to Dallas and we wanted to start opening brick and mortar stores in the shopping malls because that's what his background was. Both of us had never done e-commerce before. So we come and we're starting talking to the malls, giving them our portfolio and, prototype of the store. And a lot of them are kind of hesitant at first because they're like, we've never heard of Miss A before. You're trying to sell like dollar beauty and like dollar accessories. Like, I don't think that's going to work for us. So as we're talking to these landlords, the big Brookfields and Simons, we were like, you know what, we can't just like sit here and do nothing. And so we were like, let's start a website. Let's try e-commerce. It's just going to be like a backup, have something going on the side while we get these brick and mortar stores going. So I found a developer like online. And at that time, I'm sure Shopify existed, but it wasn't very well known at all. And so it was more of like you find somebody to kind of build it on the side for you. And so we were running on Magento. And I found this guy. He built my website for like $3,000. And then I started putting some products on there. And, that's how Shop Miss A started. And then YouTube back then was just like taking off so big that this influencer in Dallas, she talked about Miss A and our website broke. Like it just crashed and it didn't come back online for, I think, like 2 days, literally. And so it was kind of a weird thing because it was our first experience. We were so bummed out because we were losing all these sales because people couldn't check out. And so I found a slightly bigger company to make a better website for me. Still not on Shopify. And that lasted, I want to say, almost a year through all these, peaks and influencers and, whatever. And it kept crashing, though. It kept crashing, even if a little bit bigger influencer talked about us, kept crashing. And finally, we found Shopify. And the thing then was like 99.9% up and running, like that's what they guarantee. And I was like, okay, that's all I need. And so that's how we became, we got onto Shopify Plus, and the first 3 years, our e-commerce growth was like tremendous. Like we got onto the Inc. 5,000, fastest growing brands list because that's how fast we were growing. And so we pushed brick and mortar to the back burner then. Like we even just stopped talking to the landlords because we were like, we don't have any bandwidth to like open stores. Like we're all going to go into e-commerce. And so that's what we focused on was the first 3 years of just growing e-commerce.
Yeah, very cool. I have a couple questions from there. First, was the first influencer, that very first post that broke the site originally, was that like planned? Like, did you seed that, or did they just organically find your product, review it themselves, and then the natural traffic just kind of crashed the site?
That one was organic.
Okay. So they just like kind of found you and like one day you're like, what is going on the site?
Yes.
Like,
yes. And she wasn't even like a big influencer, at that time. I think her video got maybe like 20,000 views or 30,000. And like, that was enough just to break it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's also funny. Like, I think, so I joined eCom about 2013, 2014. I think it's so funny how like, that was the greatest concern ever there was like, could the site support the traffic? And now we've kind of just accepted it. Like, it'll be fine. Like, it won't really crash on a random time. Whereas like now it's the end of the world if like the Shopify admin is down. I find that really funny.
Yeah. For even like 2 seconds now. Right. But back then it was like, I couldn't sleep for days. Cause like, it's
like, how do we fix this?
Yeah. Like, oh my God. It was just, but that's how it started.
Yeah, that's really awesome. Okay, so it sounds like you've picked a very specific and interesting, it's not really a vertical, but just business model of $1 beauty products. And it seems like you've been riding the same kind of market momentum that the Dollar Trees and those other stores have really, really gotten a lot of success. So how did you come up with that idea? Like, how did you get to, we're going to go in this one vertical and go on this very specific price point, and that's going to be really successful for us?
Right. I studied fashion. I went to Parsons after I did my bachelor's at UC Berkeley because I just love fashion and I love clothes and things like that. So I studied fashion, and obviously, going to Parsons and being in New York and just kind of being in that industry, I loved like high fashion, right? And expensive things. And so I've always personally kind of been, fascinated and really into, high-end fashion and beauty products. But when I was thinking about this business with my husband, like there's a lot of great high fashion brands and, high beauty brands out there. And I just didn't think I could compete with them. I couldn't, make a brand like Chanel or, Dior. And I really wanted to target more of the mass, and this price point of $1, not everybody can do this as well either. It's really hard. Like, the biggest question that I get still this day is, how do you actually sell it for $1? Like, what do you have to make to, how much do you have to make it to sell it for $1? But so this part isn't easy either, but I thought this was more of what interested us and excited us. And so Dollar Tree was a very, very good role model for us because they purely only sold products for $1. The Dollar Generals and the Family Dollars, they have products that are over $1. And we weren't so interested in that. We were really interested in Dollar Tree and that they were, truly sticking to $1. But they're more like family home goods, right? There's food there. There's all this cleaning supplies there and things like that. But we wanted to make this like a really fun place. And we wanted to do it for beauty and jewelry and accessories. And if we actually built a store, we wanted it to look like a really nice store, not like a dollar store, but a really nice store, but that were affordable for everybody. And so, and at that time too, e.l.f. Cosmetics had a dollar line that they went into Target with, and they had huge success. And we were like, okay, literally e.l.f., that's our only competitor right now in this market because there's nobody else who does it at $1. e.l.f. is doing it really well. That's kind of our competitor. We actually sold their line on our website until they discontinued it. And so we were like, you know what, let's do this. Like there's this opportunity here within that dollar market. And, my husband knew about importing and manufacturing a little bit. And so when we talked to these factories, we knew we could do it. We knew we could get them at a cost if we did it D2C. So with no wholesale, no distributors in between, we knew that it would work out. So we were like, you know what, small margins, but quantity. That's kind of, what we were looking forward to. And so that's, how we knew we could do it.
Yeah. And so I feel like at scale is the interesting challenge there. And so I know before we were catching up, you said that outside of some influencer sponsorships, you've never spent any money on advertising. So how did you achieve that scale without having to go and spend a lot of money on paid channels and PR and all of those different components that a brand typically goes down?
Right. At first, I would say in the beginning, one, I didn't know how to spend the money or where to spend the money. So that's why, we couldn't spend the money. And then two, later we realized that this influencer so remember I told you that first influencer who broke our website. So back then, so 2013, I was a total beauty YouTube, junkie as well too. I would watch hours of YouTube tutorials, and that's when it started growing. And so once that first thing happened, I was like, oh, this is going to be how Miss A grows, is these beauty influencers reviewing Miss A. And so starting from there, we started just at first just giving them products. I would reach out to them. And like at that point, I was doing all the marketing myself too, because it was like, a 4-person team. And so I would just cold email all these YouTubers and say, hey, like this is Miss A. We have a Dollar Beauty. Like your viewers are going to love it because, and some influencers, they kind of are hesitant too, because like they like to be with luxury brands and they like to be associated, with the high ends. But I'm like, look at it from a follower perspective. Like they actually sometimes want to see stuff that they can actually afford and buy right after watching your video, and some in the beginning, there are, I would say, a lot of influencers that we sent them products and they did a Miss A video. Our video was one of their top performing videos of all time. And so that was also something that we could show new influencers that we're working with. We're like, okay, hey, go to her channel, look at her videos, but look at the Shop Miss A one. Look at the views that she gets on it. Look how well it does. Like this just shows you that viewers are interested in it and they like this type of video. So then a lot of them are like, oh, and as an influencer, that's what you want to make for content, right? It's something that your viewers are going to love, something that's going to perform well on your channel, that's like relatable. And so then they were like, okay, let's, we'll love to work together. And so as soon as that first one hit, I was like, okay, this is what we're going to do. So the first 5 years, I would say, was purely just gifting and then a little bit of sponsorships, but they weren't very many. They weren't very expensive. It was maybe like $100 for a video or like $300 for a video, like nothing that you can find today. But I think it was just really good timing for us for when we started and where that influencer, industry was, that we had that opportunity to really take advantage of it.
Yeah, definitely. I kind of call it the good old days. Although I feel like a little bit is still on TikTok, but it was definitely, like you just give people free product and they would just happily promote it. So my one big question for you, because I feel like everybody wants to get into influencer marketing, but things like you watched hours of videos and you cold email people, like I feel like people don't actually understand what it works. So can you just dispel some of the big myths around how to actually work with influencers for your brand?
Yeah. So like I said, it's a really different industry now. So right now, like in 2020 and 2021, we've almost completely stopped working with YouTube influencers and we've moved on to TikTok influencers. But the start of it is the same. So for YouTube, I would say I did it at first, and then later I had one girl that was helping me with, social media and influencers. But we just first go onto YouTube and you have to really get to know that influencer. So go to her channel, watch her videos, see what kind of content she makes, see if it's relatable to your brand. Because if she does like cooking videos and you're trying to get her to promote Miss A products, like her audience isn't gonna, relate to that. And so we do. And back then there weren't so many like influencer tools and platforms where nowadays, and I'll get to that in a little bit. So back then, that's what we literally did, was like spend hours on YouTube. And if this, influencer kind of fit our, needs in terms of like her content, her demographic, like age group that watches her. And then usually, they have that email and then we email them and, we start the conversation from there. And if they have a rate card or something like that, they'll present it to us. We'll look at her metrics, see if, her rate is within our budget for her metrics. And then, from there, draft a content and then, see what kind of video that, she's going to make. I think, I guess some myths are, but there are influencers who really, really genuinely love your brand and product. And those influencers are the ones that produce the best type of video or content for you. It's sad to say, but there are influencers who just do it for the money. So they'll kind of just say yes to everybody and, just try to do an easy way out and kind of do that. And those really tend to not perform as well either. So really building that relationship. And a lot of times too, if, that first video does really well, we keep a relationship with that influencer and we'd say, let's do 3 videos over the next quarter, or let's do some videos and some other photography or something like that, and kind of do it more like a relationship. So they're continually promoting Miss A and it's not just like a one-off thing. But the influencers are they've been a key success to Miss A. And it's just really about spending the time to find the ones that fit your brand, I think is the most important part.
Yeah, definitely. Because I feel like everybody's like, oh, huge following. They're in the niche, so it must make sense. And let's just send them a ton of free product and we're going to get tons of sales. But I agree. I think it's like going very deep with a couple of people that really either organically love your brand or when they discover it, really find a lot of value in it. So then I feel like, so my company I previously worked at, we were Kim Kardashian's favorite selfie case. We were very in the fashion, apparel, and beauty space of influencers as well. How did you deal with like the choppiness of revenue as you all were growing with influencers, right? Because it's that one influencer that crashes the site, and then it's not until the next post that next huge spike of revenue comes in. So how did you, especially with like a low margin, high volume business, like how did you balance that as you grew?
That was one of the tough parts. Because we do all of our fulfillment in-house as well too. And so the challenge is that, someone huge does a video and we get, 10x amount of the orders as a normal day or whatever, then like our fulfilling it would get delayed. Yeah. And so like that was just a big learning lesson. So, we would increase by this much because of this influencer. So we learn, and then we're kind of like, okay, on that level. And then it breaks it to another level and then another level. So that's kind of what we'd had to just keep up with over the years. And then usually though, thankfully the revenue in between these big breaks have been pretty stable for us. So, let's say, for example, I used to get 100 orders a day. So it would be pretty stable for us, like 100 orders a day. And then let's say an influencer brings us kind of up to that next level and they jump us. But after that, the orders are about 150 a day, and it just kind of stays at that level. And then another one comes up and then it kind of goes to 200. So it never went back down to like 20 orders a day, once we kind of hit that 100 orders a day level, I would say. So over the 8 years, I think that's kind of like how it grew. And we would plan out the calendar too, so that if we were working with influencers, we would kind of space them out.
Okay, so you calendared the influencers to be like, okay, we need a big spike in January, and then we're okay in February, and then in March we need another big spike.
Exactly. And kind of like sprinkle in some of the smaller ones in between here and there, just to kind of balance it out as much as we could under our control.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, that makes a lot of sense. And then I feel like there's like also knowing that huge ebb and flow. How did you keep people coming back? Like I'm assuming email and SMS or some sort of owned media channel was a really big part of getting to that more stable 100, 120, 150 orders a day level.
Yes, definitely. So once they become a customer, I think, so the biggest attractive thing about Miss A is that we always have new launches. Because our price points are so low. I think, you come to Miss A for the newest, most up-to-date, trendy items, but they're always new. It's not like we launch, 2 things a collection or something. Last year alone, I think we did launch 200 to like 400 SKUs that are our own branded items. So that's a ton of products, right? And so once you've become a Miss A customer or about Miss A, we do a lot of retention through email marketing. We have a huge email, customer base. And so we send out 2 emails a week that covers new launches or bestsellers, just so people can always, stay up to date on them. And then just recently in 2021, we started using SMS marketing with Postscript, and that's been a huge success for us as well too.
Awesome. So it sounds like you're emailing not a high volume, but very frequently. What are you doing in SMS? How are you balancing the 2 channels?
For SMS, we kind of have been using it not to promote all the new arrivals, but like specials or like bundles or kits or, reminding them of sales, and more conversational as well too. Like, what was your favorite look for Halloween? And it's so that it's conversational, they can reply back to us. Or like one of the best campaigns that we did for the holiday season was like, load up your shopping cart, and take a picture of it, text it to us, and we're going to choose, 10 random winners and send you your whole shopping cart. So kind of things like that, you can only do it through text message. And so we've seen those kind of campaigns be really successful.
Awesome. Okay. I have so many questions based on that. So for the questions, like your favorite Halloween look, was that a reply to answer? Like, are you just having people send free form responses of whatever they want? Or is it more of that guided, like text this reply and then there's an automated reply from the brand as well?
Yes. That, yeah. So like for Halloween, it would be like, what are you dressing up for Halloween? And then A, something spooky, or B, something cute, and then so they would respond one of those, and then we would have a look, like a makeup look that they could do with it, and that would reply back to them. So
Mm-hmm.
it was a guided response that had separate responses for depending on what they asked.
Yeah, and then based on your branch, then the response would drop you to that part of the website where you could go shop the look and all of those other pieces.
Exactly.
Awesome. Cool. Okay, kind of like a short little quiz that you could take to
Mm-hmm.
get you to different collections. So then
Mm-hmm.
I love the giveaway part. I've never heard of that of like I'm assuming you just like literally take a photo of your computer or screenshot it on your phone, text it to
Exactly.
you all. How
Yeah.
did you all manage that? Because it's an awesome idea and it sounds really, really cool as a giveaway, but it sounds like did you route it into your help desk? Like how did you all just consolidate that many responses?
Yeah. So like I said, we signed on with Postscript this year. And so we're using that platform, and they have a team for us that we're kind of in like a beta program. So I don't know how much of it I can actually say, but their team has been absolutely fantastic, and they're trying a lot of different like AI things on their dashboard where it'll automatically like pull the responses into like one group so that we can, choose from it. There's things where nowadays, like if a customer texts us, where's my order? Then it knows to respond back with their shipping confirmation or their tracking number or things like that. And so I think they're working on a lot of stuff where it could be automated more, or it's all the responses are organized so that there's just one place that we go into and we can see them all at once. And it also links with our customer service platform, which is Zendesk. So if people are asking questions or submitting these things, like we can just reply back right back from Zendesk.
Okay. But you're reviewing all of this within PostScript itself. You're not reviewing it
Yes.
in like Zendesk.
Yeah. So like, let's say if it's the shopping cart one, it would all it all goes into like this one folder from that campaign thread. So then we can see all of those responses in one, and then we can just pick them.
Okay, cool. So it's someone in the marketing team, like it's self-contained. You don't need to pull in like CS or some other team to do it. And you all can
Yeah.
just text that person
Yes.
back and be like, hey, you won. Did you all
Yeah.
do any type of like secondary offer for everyone who didn't win to push them to purchase as well?
For that one, we didn't.
Okay. We've seen a lot of success with that where we'll do some type of giveaway like that. And then everybody else gets like a $5 or some sort of like nominal discount as like a secondary. You didn't win the giveaway, but you're still a winner type offer.
Yeah,
We've
that's
seen
a
a lot of
really good
success with that
idea.
too.
Yeah, that's a really good idea because we usually just ignore everybody else who didn't win, but I think that would make him feel really good.
Yeah. So in PostScript, you can create a segment of the winners and then you just run that as an exclusion audience versus everyone else who responded to the whatever the prompt was. And then that way you can send that secondary message to everybody else.
Yeah, no, that's a really good idea. We'll have to do that for the next one.
Awesome. Yeah. We've seen a lot of success with it. And it's good because those giveaways then turn, I mean, I'm sure the giveaway was already a revenue driving event, but it just really helps push it along a little bit more.
Right. Yeah. Because sometimes we'll have like branded giveaways on Instagram where we team up with a different brand and then we give away, products. And we've used text to kind of promote that. So, they would get a text and say, hey, we have a giveaway going on Instagram right now. Come enter it. So then it drives our customers to come to our Instagram account if they haven't been following us, to go enter it. So I think cross promoting like that has also worked really well.
Yeah, definitely. Because then also you can, for everyone who don't have their phone number, you can run them through a drip and then just exclude all customers that you have had their phone number before that list. So you can almost nurture the other audiences, kind of like some of the influencers, like you can nurture them to become customers as well through text. We've seen a lot. That's been really successful as well. So I want to get into a little bit more of you quickly mentioned that when customers text in about their like Wizmos or where are my orders, that it automatically responds to that. I'm guessing that's a new beta feature that you all are a part of as well?
I think so. Yeah. So it kind of picks up keywords. Whereas before, a human would have to go through each response and see what they're asking and then, text it back to them. But I think this might be a beta that they're working on where they're trying to see if the AI can pick up keywords and then just text it back to them.
Cool. So your team has to do nothing, really. Like I'm assuming like it's a setting that you set in the back end, and then if people text like where is my order or order tracking or something like that, oh my, that must save your CS team so much time.
Yeah, love it.
Yeah, that's very cool. Okay, so the last part that I kind of want to dive into, because I know you're super busy, is the retail component. So I know that origins of the company was you all want to start brick and mortar, D2C went gangbusters, and it sounds like you all have gone back into retail. So can you kind of walk through like why, after running such a successful D2C brand, you all kind of went back to your roots to get into retail? And then how has that worked and how has that played with all of your different marketing channels and driving growth across the full stack of sales channels?
Yeah. So after the first 3 years, we only concentrated on e-commerce. 3 years later, we had a better grip of what e-commerce was like, because like you said, we never had done e-commerce before. 3 years into it, we were kind of like, okay, we kind of know what we're doing now. There's a little bit of room to breathe. So let's try going back and setting up these retail stores. So we go back to Simon, and at that point, we actually had something to show them now. We have this really great website. We have all these customers, look at our products, and they were actually thrilled to have us. So we did our first brick and mortar location in May of 2016. And we tried just one at that time because we were like, people are like, the malls are dying. People are no longer shopping there. Everybody's going on to e-commerce. By this time around 2016, 2017, just e-commerce had boomed so big. And so we were kind of like, okay, let's just try it and see. The first store sales were incredible. The mall was so happy with what we were doing. We were so happy. The inside of the space was just so beautiful. And we realized that customers still go to the mall and they want to see stuff in real life. And our products are such an impulsive buy that like our conversion rate at the store is incredible. Like our conversion rate online is pretty industry average. But in the store, it's like, I think we are probably the highest converting store in the entire mall. I'm pretty confident I can say that because you walk in, there's all these products. You will find something to buy inside of a Miss A, no matter what your age is, you will find something. And so after the first store, we realized, okay, this is working for us. Brick and mortar is a go for us. And so then starting from there, we started, rolling out maybe like 2 a year, 3 a year. Right now we're at 15 locations all throughout Texas. In 2022, we probably have another 20 to 25 locations opening. So we're really focusing on the brick and mortar, one, because they're working. Even with COVID, we took a little break during 2020 because we got really scared. The mall had a shutdown for a month and a half, and we were like, are people actually going to go back out after COVID? But people are still going back out. People are still shopping in the malls. We had a really great holiday season this year, at the actual brick and mortar locations. And so we're kind of just pushing forward with that. And, there's a really good synergy because we started opening stores in Dallas. Before we had any stores, our top customers were coming from New York, LA, and Florida for e-commerce before we had any brick and mortar stores. Once we opened Dallas locations first, Dallas became, I think, the top second city after New York. And then we had opened Houston after, and Houston came up to like number 1, whereas Houston used to be pretty low in terms of, the number of customers coming from that city. And so we also see the synergy that opening brick and mortar locations also attracts people to our website because sometimes they're visiting Dallas, from out of state. They see a Miss A store, they love it, they go back home, and now they're like, oh, we'll just go shop online. So these brick and mortar stores are basically like a big advertisement for us. It's just there's millions of people who go to each mall every year, and so it's literally an advertisement, and so my husband and I are like, instead of spending $2 million on marketing, let's open a store. And one, we generate revenue from it. And plus it's like a billboard, for all those people walking by who've never heard of Miss A. And so for us, I think the type of product that we have, the customer base that we have, the brick and mortar stores are really great. And so we're continuing to expand.
Yeah, that's really cool. And I've heard of a couple other founders who have gone down this path also, where they've opened
Mhm.
up their own retail locations, not done wholesale. And they have this
Yeah.
similar mindset where they're seeing it like a revenue generating marketing channel, which I think
Yeah.
is so fascinating, of like just completely putting it on its head of like ecom started as a marketing channel to get people back into stores. And now a lot of
Yeah.
brands are seeing it as the exact reverse.
Yeah.
But can you quickly just, I mean, obviously in hindsight, it's brilliant strategy and it's worked really well, but can you go back to like that 3 years into the brand, you're thinking about it. Why didn't you go wholesale, or why didn't you partner up and do some sort of joint venture versus opening up your own retail locations?
Um, well, wholesale one is we still don't do any wholesale. And one is because really just there's not that much room in terms of margins for our products to go through, a wholesaler or a distributor. Like I would love to get our products into a Target, or something like that, or an Ulta, but it's just right now it's really tight, the way that our business is structured. So that's one. And then two is we really wanted to create a space, and we have enough SKUs to fill a store with so much variety and just like so much product. And Miss A is probably one of the only brands that can do it. And I think that is such a key factor when you're thinking about opening a brick and mortar store. Like that's a standalone, because I've seen a lot of beauty brands. I won't name them, but they started opening stores in malls with just their brand, their own brand, like kind of like a Mac store. Mac is okay because they've been here for so long, but there's up and coming e-commerce beauty brands who've tried to open a space, and their numbers are just really bad. And a lot of them have closed down. And I think why is because they just don't have enough variety and turnover in their products. So, let's say there's a store that opened from a beauty brand. I go the first, few months does very well because everybody goes, there's something to buy.
It's
You go
exciting.
back
Yeah.
6 months later, it's the same things. Maybe there's one new mascara, few new lipsticks, but that's it. You go back 6 months later, it still looks the same. You know what I mean? But Miss A, you go back a week later, a lot of our products have changed. A lot of the stuff that you saw last week, they've sold out. We're never bringing it back. And here's a brand new, fresh, collection of things. And so I think that's kind of our key factor. So I can't tell every brand that, oh, you should go out and build brick and mortar stores, to get good synergy to your e-commerce stores. Because just sometimes with the product category that you have, it doesn't work. But I think for Miss A, it does, just because we have such a large selection of products.
Yeah, I think that's really important, like to think about, so that you can fill out a store. Like you aren't a beauty cosmetics brand with like 10, 50 SKUs in the entire catalog. Sounds like you're rolling that out on a weekly or even probably shorter time frame.
Yeah, like 2-3 days.
Yeah, wow, that's awesome. Okay, probably have to have you back on to figure out the math behind how you all figured that out, because I feel like that's a really interesting challenge of how do you constantly launch that many products just from like a fulfillment and production standpoint. But I know that's another 45-minute conversation and you're very busy. So I have a couple questions I'd like to ask everybody in wrapping up. So my first one is if you could recommend everybody listening consume one piece of content, it could be anything, a book, blog, podcast, video, anything you can think of. What would it be and why? The only rule is it can't be your own.
Okay. I would say, I'm sure a lot of listeners maybe already listened to this podcast, but How I Built It with Guy Raz.
Yeah.
When I was starting off, some of the first, guests so go way back to like when he first started the podcast, because there's some really interesting founders that come on there. But as a founder, or if you're thinking about becoming an entrepreneur, it was really motivating for me because you can hear all types of stories, and you actually like resonate to so much of it because like you're going through the same thing. So I would say I love that for entrepreneurs.
Yeah, definitely. It's a good inspiration podcast. If you had a magic wand, you could change one thing about e-commerce, what would it be and why?
I mean, there's a lot of things. I would say maybe
Top 3.
top 3. Okay. One is maybe like fraud protection, because I think that is something that a lot of entrepreneurs or, brand owners have to kind of deal with. And, it's just something that happens to everybody. And I think just kind of more fraud protection and security, I think.
Yeah, definitely. And also all the providers in the space are so expensive, and it's really hard to do the math behind that. If you were sitting in my chair and you were interviewing Jean, what did we miss? What should we have talked about today?
I guess you just said this, but it's like a completely different, conversation about like how, right now I'm in the role of chief merchandising officer. And so I really focus on product development and bringing in, those thousands of SKUs that we have new every year. And I guess that is kind of where it excites me these days. As a Brown founder, I've had to do everything from customer service to shipping, to all of that. But I guess if you asked me what's my favorite part in, running Miss A, I would say it's the product development and bringing out all these things to our customers.
Very cool. All right. Well, I'm going to take the mulligan and just ask how do you just launch that many products in a year? Like, it just sounds like an incredible volume of products. Like, it's probably a 45-minute question, but like at a really high level, like what is the infrastructure in place that is required to launch something like 400 SKUs in one calendar year?
Yeah, we have a big sourcing team now. That's the team that I work closely to day by day. And one is really just having that bandwidth of, team members and just all, like we work with probably over 300 factories to cover, all of our things. And so it's just knowing a lot of factories, having a good team here, working really quickly. Like we work really quickly. If you talk to any of our employees, it's like quick, every day. And so, we just focus on, and then we also I love to look out for trends too. And I think that's why this product development excites me so much, because I'm always on social media. I'm always on different websites looking for the, what's kind of up and coming. And, my parents are from Korea, and Korea is also really forward in beauty and things like that. So I'm always looking to see what they're doing. But I would say, a really solid sourcing team who knows what they're doing and having really good relationships with factories and just literally working quickly. And supply chain issues starting from 2020 have been a nightmare for us. But, thankfully we've gone through the holiday season okay with, everything getting here on time. Well, kind of because we just started so much earlier than normal. But and a really good design team, because we design everything in-house too, from packaging to just anything that has to do with the product. So I think just having a really good team to back you up.
Awesome. Okay. Probably have to have you on later in the year to talk about how you scaled up to work with 300 factories. That sounds like an interesting challenge in itself. My final questions for you is, who's someone else we should have on the pod who would be great to have a conversation similar to this?
Just another founder or somebody on our team, or
just someone in the space that you have been really impressed by or have been having really great conversations with.
There's a brand called I&H Hair. I don't personally know the founders, but they're two young girls who came out from ColourPop Cosmetics. And I think they're doing a really good job in that space of hair. They do wigs and ponytails and things like that. But I think they have a really interesting story and love their brand.
Very cool. I haven't heard of them yet. I also feel like ColourPop is the largest, most unknown Shopify brand. I feel like nobody who really knows who they are, but they're Shopify's 5th largest or 4th largest brand.
They are huge. Yeah. I think ColourPop started around when Miss A started too, but they've just grown to another level. They're amazing, I think.
Yeah, it's been really cool. It's so funny to see how many brands people have no idea who they are, and they're like, oh yeah, they're on Shopify, and they're just really, really large. So my last question for you in wrapping up is, if someone wants to learn more about yourself or Miss A, where should they go?
Our website, shopmissa.com. All of our social handles are shopmissa. And then my Instagram's Jean_Baik, but I don't post too often, but I will start posting more. But that's where you can find us. Cool.
Well, for the latest trends in beauty and cosmetics, we really appreciate the time. Thanks, Jean.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for listening to another week's episode of the Messenger Mastermind podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, please share it with another e-commerce marketer. And always let us know what you think down in the comments below. Also, don't forget to subscribe. If you're looking for cutting edge tactics and the resources that we rely on to run our businesses, sign up for our newsletter. We'll include a link down below. As always, stay confident, connect with your customers, and keep crushing it.